7654. Nope, wait, I botched it. That's the wrong button entirely. 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, everybody, to episode number 65's after show for our Ascension, our Oceanic Ascension interview with Monsieur Bubbles and Bearwitstick. Welcome back, gentlemen. Hello, hello.
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 Ready to get back into this and take some viewer questions and suchness, yes?
Yep.
All right.
Sounds good.
You guys can tweet at FinalBossTV on the Twitter or ask us currently right now in chat. I'm so sorry I totally ruined that pre-pot if you were here for the live show. Missed the pre-pot. Oh well. Popped CDs. Have to abort. All right. Alrighty, friends. So yeah, this part of the show is just literally just open forum. We'll talk about whatever. Ryan has a story for us. After shows again are always going to be at the discretion of the guests. If both of them can stick around for another 20 to 30 minutes after the show.
Hey, what about the guest co-host?
No, you're stuck in this.
What if I have
you
plans?
signed an agreement.
Man, I got dinner ready in like 20 minutes. Let's do this.
No, you signed an agreement. I have part of your soul. Your left foot's pinky toe is mine forever. So if you
can
want
have it. I don't even want it.
Okay. So if you guys have any questions about stuff, I know someone was asking in chat earlier. Oh my goodness, I can't remember the viewer's name. Something with an A. My goodness, wants to know about the state of what your thoughts on the state of rogues are, because Paragon had their own opinion on rogues. What do you guys think about rogues currently in the state of the game they are right now in Heimel? Do you bring them? Do you sit them? Do they only go on single target encounters? What is your rogue opinion?
Personally, I think Regs are good. It's just the hassle of having to, like, for Butcher, right, they actually do good DPS if they go subtlety and gear properly for that spec, but it's very costly and extremely annoying. And then they need different gear sets as well. So they obviously they won't do as much DPS as other classes, and you'd rather not bring it. But on a file like Imperator, our rogue did really well. So yeah, obviously if we had enhancement shaman, we would have used that. Like, they're nowhere near enhancement shaman, but
can't rate at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm sorry, fellas. I can't hit my R button for you at 3 in the morning. Not gonna happen. Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, I'm of the same opinion pretty much. Our rogue did extremely well in Peridor because he's playing combat, and the cleave on the ads is, they're still quite good at it. But overall, like they're losing to, their monks and stuff like that. So for rogues, it's probably a very unfamiliar feeling because, they're sort of one of those classes that I rate that always seem to be up near the top. So like, your standard pure DPS, your hunters, your mages, your warlocks, and your rogues. Those 4 always seem to be somewhere near the top. And rogues aren't enjoying that at the moment. Like they're not near the top, so I can understand why they probably feel like they're right down the bottom. And I know the Sims say that as well, but I feel like they need a few changes, but nothing too drastic. That's what I'd say about them.
Yeah, that's sort of I think what Deva said is that rogues are not awful. They do fine. It's just that Windwalkers do a lot better than them.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to bring in an energy melee class outside of Feral Druids, you guys destroy rogues in single target. Right now, like there's a bit of a barrier there that you can't overcome, and that's the problem. Rogues have always been really strong for like expansion to expansion to expansion, and they shouldn't suddenly be the bottom of the barrel.
I agree with
monks
that.
Monks are like talking about monks. They're like the perfect class. They can do everything.
Pretty much.
They can even do, like, they can choose if they want to do mainly magic damage or physical damage, which helped us on Korag. Yep. We changed what our monk was doing when we were just adjusting the strat a little. Yeah. So they can do so many things, like Transcendence as well helps a lot. So it's just, the perfect class, really.
Yeah, that's the frustration I think that rogues have right now, is that Windwalkers sort of outshine them. And I don't know if that's, they used to bring Smoke Bomb as their main tool, or soaking abilities with like Look of Shadows, but a lot of immunities don't work anymore, and Smoke Bomb got nerfed. It'll probably see better use in Blackheart Foundry because there's certain fights you can still smoke bomb LOS gimmick things, so we'll see. But yeah, that's. I feel for your rogues right now. I feel for you. We were looking at the top DPS benchmarks for all classes that do damage, and rogues are at the bottom, and they're being beaten by a large margin by protection paladins right now. That does not feel good. Nope.
Nope.
So yeah. I'll do a couple questions before we do your story, Ryan. Okay.
I guess.
Okay.
I mean, it's fine.
All right.
All right.
There was a question that came in chat with Anna, without like Anna here, without like the watching. I gotta watch myself.
I watch. I just don't know when to bring it up, man.
Oh right. Well, you can, if you grab.
I don't want to talk over you. You're the host.
Yeah, you can grab a question from chat. It's fine. I had one I saw before it got away from me.
Please, please. I have many questions from chat. Then. Many.
So, what is your opinion on the state of raid balance as far as the flex system goes for normal heroic raids for a small guild with less than 15 people? This is from IR the Shiz. Wants to know if, with a 15 people less than 15 person guild, should they recruit up to 30?
I don't think they need to. No. Obviously, 30 players has more gear, but it's proportion to the amount of players you have.
Mm-hmm.
In my experience, the more players we added to our heroic clears, the harder the bosses became, especially Margok.
Sure.
So, I don't know. I feel like 15's good. If he won now, if they wanted to transition into mythic raiding at some point, I know that might not even be what the question's asking. Like they're just happy where they are, then yeah, go try get the more players and try it out. But I think at the moment, the less players you have, the easier it gets in flex raiding. But yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah, there isn't a weird like safe zone spot thing for flex. I don't think you want 10 anymore. I don't think 10-man raiding really rewards you as much because you only get like 2 pieces of gear, which can still feel like, what the hell are we doing this for? And arguably, if you can use personal loot and get more than 2, but then you can also kill bosses and get 0. And killing a boss and getting 0 upgrades for your guild can be really bad. So, yeah. I don't know. I think it's a weird play. Between 15 and 20 is a really good sweet spot right now because of the flex system. But 30 is like, unless you're ready for it, man, 30-man heroic can be, whoo.
Yep. It's pretty tough.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways, 30-man heroic can have interesting logistics of like harder learning curve than 20-man mythic because there's 10 more people.
The raids aren't designed around that size anymore, I feel. So when something, they obviously keep it in mind, but some rooms just don't feel right with that many players in there. Yeah.
All right, what you got, Ryan?
Gentleman or lady by the name of Kaylin. This is a question directed to the Bubbles. How do you feel about the current state of priests, such as the rotation? Do you feel it's clunky, or do you feel that they pretty much got it right for this expansion?
Well, first of all, I don't think dot weaving was intended, but I love it. Like, I think Shadow Priests are at almost the best state they have ever been in, because I think it's a really, compared to other classes, from what I've heard, the rotation of other classes, I think to play Shadow Priest really well, you have to know what you're doing, and you have to, and like especially when more targets come into play, it's really interesting. Like, you want to do your dot weave, but there's more targets, or your dots are better enough. Like, there's so many different scenarios that you experience, and there's just timing issues that makes it just an interesting class that you have to adapt to the situation. Like, you have to adapt your dot weave to the situation that you put in once you're at the certain amount of orbs.
Right.
That sort of brings in a thing I wanted to bring up at the main show, and I didn't get to do it because we were running low on time, was that we talked about how, because of how player niche and niches work right now, sometimes you have to like change what your damage meter is looking at. For Shadow Priests, in a certain way, you can almost like just do damage taken by XYZ boss to see that your damage contribution to the boss is important, because your AoE is kind of meh. So that way if you're way down the other damage meter, it's sort of a mental block where you're like, I'm doing bad, I need to do better, but I can't, because I can't really cross dot or AoE harder, so is my contribution to this fight poor? But you might think that on an AoE-oriented fight like Margok, but then you look at the damage to the boss, and you're still like way up there on the boss damage, because you're focusing on killing the boss. So there are ways to think about that with the damage meter now that I think people right now are not getting used to, or not getting used to. So if you're better at single target and your AoE is pretty poopy pants right now on AoE fights, just do boss damage, and see your contribution to boss damage is better than AoE fights, if it helps you. So.
It's interesting that you said that, because it's exactly what happened for me during Margok. At the start, I was like getting all depressed. I was like, "Why am I even here? Like, look at me, I'm useless. Why am I here? Just sub me, please sub me."
Oh, I don't want to raid this.
Yeah, like I'm just a waste of space. But then, like,
I mean, those are legitimate concerns. Let's be honest about this.
Yeah, but we got led into the fight, and I started analyzing DPS. And like during the what's it called, the intermissions, I was doing really good damage on the war mages and the reavers.
War mages, reavers,
and and boss damage and the ad damage that does a lot of AoE. The AoE damage that the ad pulses was really, really hard for healers to keep up if it was up for too long. So that's where a class like a Shadow Priest comes in really well, because you can off-dot the boss and just nuke and burst the ad. Also on phase 4, I was really upset because there's so many ads, and Mindseer is just terrible. So I was like, great. So this phase as well. Yeah, this phase as well. I'm useless. Thanks. Awesome. Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you. Yeah. But then after we killed it, I looked at the boss damage. I was like, all right, maybe I was kind of useful. I did a lot of damage to the boss. So I definitely, even though I'm not up the top on Skada, I still think I was very useful at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think this sort of topic is coalesced in a way. I'll use my guild as an example here real quick as I pull up a question to bring up. Is that we're progressing on Korag, and we're getting to the point where we're doing, or Korag, if I want to pronounce this damn name. And when the ad phase comes out, we had issues with too many people doing extra cleave or extra AoE or extra cross-dotting to the ads. And as a team player announcement, I said that unless you can add more damage from your AoE to the boss, you should just focus on dumping as much damage into the boss when he's vulnerable to both physical and magic damage. And I will work down the ads with Mass, our main tank prot warrior, with Fire Nova, because Fire Nova is a DPS gain single targetly on all those ads. Not trying to scumbag, that's how it works. I can get six Flame Shocks on the ads, because one will obviously on the boss. So when I do 6 Fire Novas, they'll hit the boss as well. So it's a DPS gain to AoE, and also helps us down when the AoE actually happens to kill these ads in the suppression field. Then all the range go and kill all of them. It helps them out too. But some people at first were like, I got an AoE, and I got a Starfall, and I got a Cross Dot, and I got a Corruption Spam, or whatever it's called, the crazy thing that Warlocks do now. You know, and that's the thing that I think the game is getting into now, where there's a lot more, I think, team mentality for DPS, because that's been around for healers for a while. But you don't need to scumbag as hard if you know other DPS classes or specs can help you with other parts of the fight and are actually contributing to the boss dying. That's just my little soapbox there, which got me really frustrated by seeing like, well, AoE enhancement is just so good, but they can do it, they can just pad. But if you go back and look at Paragon's first kill of Imperator Margok, Iliao is top boss damage and top ad damage. So certain classes do that sort of thing. So it's just like a mindset change, I think, that needs to happen. So, yeah. It's called Cataclysm, I think, is the Warlock that spreads corruption. I think it's that, yeah. Something like that. But no, we had first things that came out, and like the ads were just dying, what they shouldn't have been. So just a thing. And that's what Bubbles said too. Yeah.
Food for thought.
Look at your damage with a single target if you're better at that. Don't look at your AoE, because that might be discouraging. Yeah.
Leading that fight, Korag, I just had to constantly yell, "Do not touch the ads!"
Do not touch the ads.
We had one person on it.
Absolutely.
I believe it was a warrior.
Oh no!
Like, do not touch the ads.
Absolutely.
But then, like, for me, right, I do also, if I touch ads, I get a single target DPS increase. So every now and then I'd be like, "Don't touch the ads." Shadow Red Pain, one ad.
Well, no, exactly. For you, same sort of thing again. That's what we brought up. We had our Shadow Priest in the raid as well, and I said, Chesty, you should be able to adopt the ads to get more spirits to do more stuff to the boss. Single target damage increase from AoEing. Whereas, like, Bladestorm doesn't gain you any damage increase. for AoEing. It's just AoE. So like, don't do the things that don't gain you damage to certain parts of fights just because you want to do more damage to the fight. It's a team effort. Team effort. Come on now. Come on now. Yep. Which makes more sense in a 20-man environment. In 25-man, scumbagging was a bigger thing because you could scumbag more often. But now I think fights are tuned really well at the 20-man setting. You can't just scumbag. So don't do it.
It's pretty. Yep. It's easy to notice when someone's doing something they shouldn't.
Yeah.
Because you know what classes with the balancing, you know what class is doing well and what.
Yeah.
So you know when someone's not doing something they should be doing.
True. True. Do you have a question, Ryan, or I'll go to one on Twitter?
No, go to one on Twitter. Go.
Okay. This is we'll do two on Twitter then, because they're right on top of each other. Does Ascension have someone that mains Ret Paladin, or what do you think the state of Ret Paladins are right now? And this is a funny question. I brought this up because Bear laughed when the preamble show. So does it look like you guys have a Ret Paladin in Ascension? And then Bear said, I'm putting on the spot, Bear. What was your...
Oh, it wasn't me that said it. Was Bubbles.
Oh, was Bubbles said it? Oh, my bad. Well, damn.
Yeah.
I failed. So what did you say about
going with it?
Yeah, right.
So I was like... from reliving it, I was like, we don't have one now, but we will for Blackrock Foundry. We'll be happy.
Right.
Because they're just... they're very strong.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had 3 hunters, meaning hunters, in the core spot. So it was a bit of a class deck, but they got nerfed early on, but we still had 3 hunters, so we just kept it. We didn't want them to reroll. But now they're really strong anyway with survival. But we got one of the hunters to reroll Ret Pally for Blackrock Foundry, just because we didn't have one, and they're just a really good class. First of all, they also give bops. So not only do they do amazing DPS, and they can do some sort of off-healing and defensives, but they also give bops, which are essential to a lot of fights.
Yep. Exactly.
Yep.
Yep, indeed. Yep. And then to get Bear in here, a question on Twitter came in through... you talk about this a little bit in the main show, but just to kind of reiterate on this specifically, can you talk a little bit about level 100 talents for kitty cats? Is Lunar Fire thing viable, which is Lunar Inspiration? So, Lunar Inspiration, Blood Talons, and Claws of Shrivala, whatever. Yeah, what are those doing?
Claws of Shrivala wouldn't... I highly doubt it'll ever be picked up in PvE. It's just a PvP talent at the moment. It's all right in challenge modes, but that's about it. Lunar Inspiration is quite good on multi-dot fights, but at the moment it still doesn't... Like, I don't think there's a single fight it outperforms Blood Talents on. So at the moment, you just want to go Blood Talons. In the future, though, it's possible that it'll get better once, we get better gear, but at this point in time, it's just Incarnation performs better. I know some Feral Druids have got better ranks on Twin Ogron using it. Not ranks, but done better damage than they had previously. But I think it's all personal preference on what you want to do. I think a lot of that came down to the fact they're out of range of their boss a lot, so they're able to keep Moonfire on both bosses, so they're able to do more damage because of how the strat worked for their guild. But overall, I think Blood Talons is a better option.
Yeah. Now, with the Blood Talons caveat here, do you have a self-target healing touch macro in case you want to healing touch yourself for actually healing yourself properly, or do you have your main tank, so you spam the healing touch hits your main tank, and then you get the Blood Talons bonus? What do you do with the healing touch?
So I have a mouse over macro for mine.
Oh, okay, right. Okay.
So as a former healer, so generally, if I'm targeting the boss, it'll heal me. So, and that was quite good on certain fights. For example, on Butcher, I was very rarely in danger of death, whereas lots of the melee were because I was able to keep myself up. So it worked out quite well. And then also on that fight, though, I ended up healing some other people and screwing over my own DPS because we were 3 healing it. And we had that extra DPS, so I figured I could lose some of my own damage to help the raid, but I wouldn't recommend doing it. So the main thing yeah, just generally yourself's a good idea. Tank's a good idea. If you feel like you're comfortable enough, then yeah, heal anyone in the raid. Like, but for the most part, I'm just myself and the tank. Those are the two that I generally turn to.
Okay, that's what I was curious about, because my background argument with Lunar Inspiration versus Blood Talons is that Lunar Inspiration, well, to go on all three of them, is that Claws of Shrivala is like the easiest one. It's just 5% damage done, basically, and just 5% versatility. So that's it. And Lunar Inspiration is just one more dot to keep up and manage, which is like a little bit harder. But then Blood Talons has like this, you want to cast it on like 4-ish combo points, not to 5, because you want to like maximize your time with the buff. With the melee buff going into the next ability that you want to like not wait on your combo points and make sure your energy regen is good. So that's like the hardest talent, but it sounds like if you use Blood Talons to the best of its abilities, that's the most damage gaining of the three.
Yeah,
okay,
it is. Someone was saying in chat just before, Lunar Inspiration is better on 2 targets. Right. It is, but it's just your energy so difficult to maintain. Like it's really hard to do it. That's why most people don't, because it's incredibly hard to keep it up at the entire. Like the only time it's better is if you keep it up on both targets the entire time, which is extremely tough. So that's why it seems better, but I feel like Blood Talons is better. You might have a different opinion. That's fine, but that's what I personally think.
All right. Okay. Now, does haste increase energy regeneration?
No,
it doesn't.
No.
All right. That's what I was wondering, if that would become easier or better to use later on. So, all right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all up to crit, like as a feral druid, pretty much.
So with crit, though, do you think
it's not going to increase?
Not going to increase too much to be a big thing? Okay.
Yeah. And the same thing, like just playing Creepy said in chat, the mastery doesn't apply to Lunar Inspiration either. So you bleed because it's not a bleed.
It just scales from attack power, right?
Yeah, so that's another reason why it's not as good. Yeah.
Okay. You got something, Ryan?
Well, I mean, I might have a story.
Yeah?
That I could tell everyone.
You got a story, Ryan?
I might have a
story time with Brutall.
Now,
let's go for it.
I'll make this as quick as possible. For those of you who don't know, I stream, I do YouTube, I do all these things that, you know, I enjoy on the side. And I've been doing that for a little more than a year now, and it's been a ton of fun. And for the longest time now, my wife and I have thought to ourselves, and we've spoken to each other, you know, there may eventually come a day to where when we're traveling, when we're in these, like a big city, when we're doing something that has a lot more people around it than this small town that we live in, we may encounter somebody that may possibly, maybe will recognize me. Maybe. There's just a small possibility that someone may recognize the bald and the beard guy. Well, we're grocery shopping in town today, all right? We're at our local Publix. It's a southeastern chain. Love the store. Beautiful store. And it's a brand new store. This store is 1 mile away from our house. It just opened a month.
Nice.
A month and a half ago. I'm cheating? What?
Yeah, it's too close, man. So close.
No, man. No, it's not cheating. So, opened about a month and a half ago. And we pull up into the parking lot. I throw the car in the park, and we get out of the car, and we got our list out in front of us. We need 2 things off the list. We need turkey sausage for breakfast. Mine. And then we need flax seeds for these smoothies that we're drinking because, you know, eating tacos all the time, you put on a little bit of weight, so you try to lose some weight. So anyway, the point is, we're in there, and we see this group of gentlemen, and they're clearly working there. They got their manager, you know, shirts on, the tie, the name tag. They got it all rolling, and we walk up to them, and I'm like, "Excuse me, gentlemen, could you point me in the direction of the flax seeds?" And they all look at me, and they're like, "Yes, we can." So this one gentleman walks us down to the flaxseed area. I was about to say aisle, but it's actually not an aisle. That would be a little weird to have a whole aisle dedicated to flax seeds. But there's a small little area where there's many seeds to be had. So I pick up my thing of flax seeds and we put it in the cart. And I notice the seafood section just right over yonder, a mere 10 feet. So I'm wheeling the old buggy, the old cart. I don't know what you Australians call it, but it's a shopping cart. You put things in it.
Is it a buggy for you guys? Or a cart?
We just call it a trolley.
Okay. Yeah, trolley.
Trolley. Oh, there it is. Oh my god.
Well, I have the trolley, and I'm wheeling the trolley over to the seafood section. All right.
All
right. So here I am in the seafood section, and this gentleman behind the counter doing his thing, you know, shuffling some fish around. And my wife and I, we wanted to scope out the fish, and I'm like, "Dear sir, Could you please show us your best white fish? I don't know what white fish are, by the way. That's what my wife said we should probably buy. He's like, yeah, sure. Give me just a second. So he goes to the back, swings open little plastic flaps, you know, that seal off the area that they keep the fresh fish in. Because there were none on display. I guess they were swapping them out. I don't know. I'm not a butcher. I don't know if killing, it doesn't matter. I'm not sure what he's called. We'll call him a butcher. So he was doing this thing, and he, sets out 3 little, not buckets, but things of white fish. And I noticed they're like $35 a pound, $18 a pound, $14 a pound. And I looked at my wife, and I'm like, nope, not doing that. Listen, I don't make that much money. All right, I'm not about to pay $35 for a pound of fish.
Okay.
So I'm like, sir, thank you so much. Where are your frozen fish that are prepackaged? He's like, right over there. And as he picks up this little bundle of fish, he turns away and he turns back. He's like, hey, this is a random question, but you wouldn't happen to have a YouTube channel, would you? And I'm like, hot diggity dog, did you just ask what I think you asked? No joke. First time ever in my hometown, someone recognizes me from my YouTube channel, and I'm like, time out, pause, time out. Who do you think I am? And he's like, are you Brutall? And I'm like, you're darn right I am. It's the coolest thing in the world, and I was way more excited than he was. And I wanted to take a picture with him so badly and post it to my Instagram and be like, look, I know this guy and he knows me from the internet. But he had on his little hairnet and he had on his little Publix attire. I didn't want to post him in a picture that wasn't entirely flattering to him because, you know, he looked like he was hard at work.
Right.
But man, I shook that man's hand. I'm like, thank you so much for watching and caring and whatnot. And it was so cool because it's one thing to interact, you know, with the chat and interact with comments on YouTube channels and stuff like that. But it's another thing to finally meet somebody in real life that knows you from, you know, this different persona, this thing that you do that you enjoy so much. And I honestly, I was way more excited than he was. It was such a cool experience. And completely out of the blue, completely at random. And I think I'll go back and I think I'll buy some fish from him. So
right.
It was a really cool, and I'm still smiling. It just made my day. It really did made my day.
The background of this whole story and why I was saying that Ryan could tell this, and there's some people in chat going like, such WoW content, blah, is these connections that we make with the content we produce and the people we bring on the show. And I thought this was a neat story to talk about because of why Final Boss existed in the first place, was to bring these players right to the chat room with you guys, because not all of them stream, not all of them even have social media, not all of them are that interactive on like the community and the forums, stuff like that, or you might not know they are because of screen names and whatnot. But the whole point is to bring this connection to you guys, and I think that's a lot of an awesome point of the show and the community we've developed here with Final Boss and all these great guests we've had. So yeah, it happens.
Someone in chat said I should have had him sign my bald head. I actually had him rip off a piece of paper that you wrap fish in. I'm like, dude, let me get your battle tag. So he gave me his battle tag. So that was
fun.
Cool. It really was a really cool experience for me. Like, he's probably like, that was nice to meet him. But I'm like, I got to meet somebody.
No,
it was really interesting.
The same kind of thing happens in a larger way, Ryan, BlizzCon.
Oh yeah! So, oh my goodness! I can't. I
mean, can't even
imagine.
The side note I'll put to that is that if you haven't watched the Warlords of Draenor cinematic reveal episode 64 of Final Boss, there's a section in there with a little boy that meets Bajheera for the first time, and it is awesome. Just like the actual like just joy in this little kid's face. The people that make this content like that, they do all this stuff. So it's pretty awesome. And all that stuff is really neat to do. So yeah, I like it. It's really fun.
It was cool.
We're gonna have another question or two before we get out of here. This is a fun one, Bear. How about this one? You ready for this?
Yeah.
How do you feel about the downtime for Feral right now?
Okay. I didn't mention that. So
right.
It's pretty. There's a lot of it. I think it's one of the worst in the game now. But you know, so you just end up throwing out rejuves on your raid members and stuff like that. Coming from a Fury Warrior. From last expansion where I filled every GCD. It took a lot getting used to, and it really did. Like it's so different. But in saying that, I've gotten used to it. It's a very deliberate way to play is how I describe it. I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's fall somewhere in the middle for me. So that's how I describe it. But I feel like they probably that's why I feel like they need to do something with energy, maybe, if they want to fix that problem, if there being too much downtime. Because if haste's not going to increase it, it's going to stay static like that in the entire expansion. The class isn't going to feel like it's changing as you get more gear. Like, you're going to crit more, but you're not going to be able to spend, like, swipe more often or thrash more often and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, it's weird, because I don't have any downtime. Enhanced Shaman is a negative downtime class where during certain periods of time I have to cut buttons to hit other buttons because I can't hit all my buttons. So it's different because looking at Feral is you just have these gaps and just waiting around. And I'm sure your rejuvenation is appreciated in some way, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't heal enough to really garnish the fact that you have to do it in the first place.
It's not that much, no. It's just, it's like a little addition, helps out the healers a little bit.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Blah. Frustrating. All right, one more for Shadow Priest. This just came in from Visibilities. I don't know if you've answered this in chat already or not like that. We'll get it in the after show here. So, Monsieur Babel, what are your thoughts on Void Entropy for Blackrock Foundry? Will there be any fights where it will actually be viable?
Probably not. But it's just, I believe someone from the Shadow Priest community went to BlizzCon and talked to the devs, and they even said that it was on purpose that it was really bad. They didn't want it to shine. I can't confirm that, but I'm fairly certain it's just memory. But there is a chance that with gear, a fight like Iron Maidens will be really good with VENT or Void Entropy.
Right.
But most likely not, just because it was intentional to be underperforming. But since I believe everyone used CAP for every single boss on Highmall, AS will become very powerful in Blackrock Foundry, and you'll be seeing that spec a lot more because of gear and the fight, how the fights work.
Yeah, Chris Zerhut said on the interview, the dev interview again, that the level 100 talents for each class and spec might not be as well balanced against each other as they are. The main perpetrator in this is Beacon of Faith. I don't think any Holy Paladin ever would not take Beacon of Faith. It's just too good to have double Beacon, and that's a problem. I sort of had the same thing where nothing is better than Liquid Magma on anything. Maybe Butcher, you can Storm Elemental, but very, very... So that's a problem. So hopefully we see some balance, inner balance with level 100 talents, because you both have issues right now. Because like Claws of Shrivala is meh, and Lunar Inspiration can't happen a lot because of the point of it is being good on cross-dotting fights, but you can't because of energy regeneration. So you take Blood Talents if you can handle it. And that's a problem in the balancing of the level 100 talents as a whole. So, yeah, we'll see. I'll take one more. Let's do Tea Time for One. Wants to know what the communication during progression impacts the way your guild progresses. Now, Ryan can talk about this too because he raid leads. I'm just a face in my guild.
That's an awesome name. That's an awesome name.
Yeah, right. So, Bear, how vocal are your tanks during raid, or do they tank control of a situation, or are they quite passive? Like, who calls the shots in Ascension raiding?
It can change from time to time in Ascension depending on what the fight requires. So, our tanks are always given room in Mumble or whichever voice chat you want to use. They're always given room to talk between each other. So, communicating taunts or any of that sort of positioning. Boss positioning, that is. Anything like that, they'll communicate between each other. In regards to raid leading, one of our raid leaders, Marzi, he is our tank as well. So he will talk quite a lot during a counter, sometimes a bit too much. But if we feel like he's got like it's a really hard fight to tank, which I think Margok is for a warrior. It was really tough on him, so Bubbles took over a fair bit on that encounter. So it'll swap really, like between Bubbles, Marzi, and Ralil, our healer, will always do raid CD. So we spread it out quite a lot, so it's not all loaded onto one person. And that's how we do it in Ascension. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Daniel?
No, it was said perfectly.
Yeah, okay.
Well, then just
Thank you.
Brush that off, Bear. Just get that officer point credibility. And then I'll give you a little time too, Ryan, if you want, because I don't do any of that in Crisp. So
Yeah. So my role in Static is I consider myself the off tank. I let Sholdus, who's a prop paladin, main tank because I do all of the raid cooldowns, and I even call tank cooldowns the majority of time, even for our main tank. Like my eyes are rarely ever anywhere but Hermes bars, the raid frames. I'm doing so many different things because that's just the role I take up in the guild. Yeah. And let's be honest, tanking is probably the easiest thing you could do in this game. There's very few fights to where it's like, oh god, I'm a tank. What am I thinking? It's a really easy role to fill.
Right.
So it's freed me up to do a lot of that raid leading aspect. Our other raid leader's a mage, and I don't know how he does it. I mean, I can't do it as a DPS. Yeah, it'd take a lot of work. It'd take a lot of work for me to be able to raid lead as a DPS, let alone a healer. Never mind, we're getting off track.
Yeah, I don't know.
So,
it's an interesting point. That's why it's kind of a thing to me that Bubbles does a lot of the raid calling. Because as a DPS, in my perspective, it'd be kind of a tough thing for me to have to like pay attention to timings, cooldowns, positioning, and stuff like that, and also do the damage.
Yeah. My DPS definitely suffers. That's for sure. I believe, like, especially with my rotation and the fact that
absolutely.
I'm multi-dot.
Absolutely, buddy.
Like me raid leading, especially on Margok, I suffer a lot of DPS. But like, it has to be done. I'd rather kill the boss than do more DPS.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right,
Applause to you, sir. Applause to you. That's a good mentality. I'm dead serious, man. Applause to you.
Oh, that's pretty
to learn something from him, Bear. Come on,
right?
man.
Jeez, I know.
Jeez.
I used to be in a guild with this guy, and I was his raid leader, and I used to do all the raid calling. I wrote all the strats, and he just sat there and got to DPS. So now I'm paying him back a little bit, and he's getting to do it for me too.
There you go.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Well, all right, gentlemen. We definitely had a little longer after show than planned, but I think we had some awesome little moments. And that story, though, and some good questions. Again, this isn't a class junket episode. Our class junkets will probably start next week on January the 11th with Resto Shaman. We usually go in a triangular circle, so we'll do like healer, and then we'll do DPS, and then we'll do tank, and then go back and forth. And then every other DPS episode is usually melee or ranged back and forth in that regard. But we've got 34, possibly 35 class-specific episodes to start getting underway on top of course, special events and guests and things. So thank you all for tuning in for that. Next week again, we'll do a Resto Shaman class junket. The guests will be announced on Twitter and Facebook later this week. But again, our guests today were... we had Bearwitstick, even though he's not a bear. Thank you for being on the show, sir. You can go check out more about Ascension at ascensiongaming.net. We'll look forward to see you guys progress in Blackrock Foundry, maybe? Yeah?
Yep,
yes,
hope so.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Bubbles, Shadow Priest for Ascension as well. You can follow him on Twitter at BubblesASC.
Yep, and it's not Bubbles Sack, it's Bubbles ASC.
Yes. Yeah.
Everyone keeps saying Bubbles Sack.
Yeah, no, Bubbles ASC. Correct, because your GM is the same, right?
Yeah, most of us have the ASC tag at the end of our name.
Indeed. Except Bear. Get a real Twitter, Bear. Jeez.
Right. Yeah, that's my mage's name. So.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Or used to be anyway.
I got you. Fair enough. The man's Brutall. Brutal GM of Static. He's over on twitch.tv at the Brutal Static. Well.
World 5,167.
We keep going backward.
You guys need to get into raid so you can get it down.
I know, we need to raid. I want the holidays.
What are we doing, babe? We could be raiding.
We're raiding right now, Ryan. What are we doing? We're losing it. We're losing it. So we'll see you all here.
Real quick, babe, thank you, of course, for calling me up, texting me, whatever, and let me come co-host again. It's always a pleasure. I really do appreciate it. Oh, sure, and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Even though I'm a measly guest co-host, it's awesome having credible, humble, wonderfully talented people on the show. Not just from a host perspective, but the audience eats this stuff up. So thank you guys for being great at the game and cooperative in something like this. So
thank you.
You guys rock.
Thank you.
Not everyone in your position really wants to get in front of the camera.
Right.
So people always wonder, like, why does it take you so long to get shows scheduled and guests? Because they gotta be. I mean, these guys woke up at what, 3? Well, you didn't go to bed, but you could have woken up like 3-ish, 4 in the morning to get here on time, man. A little earlier than that, but still. Woof. Crazy. So we'll see you all here next week. Resto Shaman stuff, and then it'll be the new tanks for DPS afterwards. Thank you very much for watching. Again, trust in the seal of Tempered Fate. Oh my goodness. And until next time, guys. Bye-bye. Bye-bye-bye-bye-bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye-bye-bye.
See ya.
Goodbye now. Goodbye. Goodbye.